Welcome to the Darkside Podcast.
Hi, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen in to the Darkside Podcast. My name's Bruce Schwartz. I'm from Montreal, Quebec. I have a space channel, and I'm doing some research in everything related to paranormal now because it's so interesting. And I think that both ufology and paranormal fall along the same branches, fields. Maybe they are the same field, but a different branch. Paranormal, alien. I mean, we fight over so many terms here on Earth, and that's all we do. Skinwalker Ranch is a story that a lot of you have mentioned to me, Bruce. Talk about the Skinwalker Ranch. It's so incredible. Well, there's more than one story coming from this ranch. And before I get into exactly what the ranch is, there's a wonderful story that I heard of some researchers, several researchers that wind up at the Skinwalker Ranch quite often. And one of the researchers was walking down at the back of some old structured barn on the Skinwalker Ranch, and we have some people on that land that are digging under the mesa, under this big hole that's there, mysterious hole that's receiving readings and frequency readings at 1.689 megahertz. So whatever that is, they don't know, but they're digging now. 300 feet down, they found an object of pure iron, right? Almost 70% iron. It was real metal, and it was a combination of also aluminum from 300 feet down. So what they did is they started sending a lot of water in with the drill, obviously, and the bit to go down 300 feet alongside of this hole that's beside of a mountain, and to go upwards into the mountain to see if there's any opening or cavity inside of the mountain. They had calculated so many gallons of water, tons of it, that many truckloads of it that they sent in it. Took a long time for the water and mud to come back up, right? Because this is what they're waiting for. You know, they put down hundreds of gallons of water, and they're like, well, where's the water? The water should be coming back up. So when the water and mud, thick, sticky, glazy mud, started coming back up outside of the hole of where they were digging, they had to drain the hole. And what they did is, before just dumping out that extra mud that was coming up, they screened it, much like someone would screen for gold, right? So they had this big screen to see if there were any pieces and what type of elements that were coming up out of the hole, which is obviously logical. And that's when they saw that pure metal was down there. They got the iron, 70% iron, there's aluminum in the objects that they brought up. So that's just one incident. Same time that day, two researchers, like I said, walking at the back of a structured barn. One falls to the ground when he receives a transmission from a friend on the CB radio that says, "Hey, I have a receiver here, and it's starting to broadcast out. Instead of receiving messages and frequencies, it's broadcasting outwards." And he goes, "This is the sound of it." So he played it on the CB, and one of the people at the ranch lost all sensation in his face, and his hands were numb. His left hand was numb, and he blacked out and went down to the ground and was sent to the hospital. Doctor said there was absolutely no reason as to why that would have occurred to him, because he has no health problems. Now let's head over to the information about exactly what all the hype is about Skinwalker Ranch, also known as Sherman Ranch. This is a property that's approximately 512 acres, 207 hectares. It's located in the southeast of Ballard, Utah. It's reputed to be the site of paranormal and UFO-related activities. It's satanic. There's something dark there for sure. Its name is taken from the Skinwalker of Navajo legend concerning vengeful shamans. Do you want to know what a shaman is? Shamanism or shamanism is a religious practice. It involves a practitioner, a shaman, witch doctor, whatever you want to call it, interacting with what they believe to be the spirit world through altered states of consciousness, such as a trance. The goal of this is usually to direct spirits or spiritual energies into the physical world for purposes, hopefully, of healing. divination, or to aid human beings in some other way. Belief in practices categorized as shamanic have attracted the interest of scholars from a variety of disciplines, including anthropologists, archaeologists, historians, religious studies scholars. We have philosophers, psychologists, and hundreds of books and academic papers on the subject have been produced. UFO reports in the Uintah Basin were publicized in the 1970s. Claims about the ranch first appeared in 1996 in the Salt Lake, Utah Desert News, and later in the alternative weekly Las Vegas Mercury as a series of articles by investigative journalist George Knapp. These early stories detail the claims of a family that allegedly experienced inexplicable and very frightening events after they purchased and occupied that property. So if I'm seeing poltergeists here and objects moving, and I'm seeing lights come down right to me 15 feet from me and seeing objects, orbs on the surface lifting up, weird paranormal activity with frequencies here in the house. So I see one hell of a connection with what's going on with the Skinwalker Ranch. Am I comparing my house to Skinwalker Ranch? No. But I'm trying to explain to you that some people have been able to feel certain energy that other people just can't feel. We're all on different levels of intelligence, while we're also all on different levels of energy, is what I believe. In 2005, Colm Kelleher and co-author George Knapp published a book in which they described the ranch being acquired by the National Institute for Discovery Science. They was to study the anecdotal sightings of UFOs, Bigfoot-like creatures, crop circles, glowing orbs, and poltergeist activity reported by its former owners. This ranch is located in West Uintah County, bordering the Uintah and Ouray Indian Reservation, was popularly dubbed the UFO Ranch, and this was due to its ostensible 50-year history of odd events said to have taken place there. According to Kelleher and George Knapp, they saw or investigated evidence of close to 100 incidents that include vanishing and mutilated cows, sightings of unidentified flying objects, orbs, large animals with piercing red eyes that they say were unscathed when struck by bullets, and invisible objects emitting destructive magnetic fields. This is what interests me. Among those involved were, of course, retired U.S. Army Colonel John B. Alexander, they're always present, who characterized the effort as an attempt to get hard data using a standard scientific approach. However, the investigators admitted to difficulty obtaining evidence at all consisting with scientific publication. Cattle mutilations have been part of the folklore of the surrounding area for decades. The founder of that scientific institution, governmental Robert Bigelow, purchased the ranch for $200,000. This was reportedly the result of his having been convinced by the stories of mutilations that included tales of strange lights, unusual impressions made in grass and the soil, told by the former family that owned the ranch, Terry Sherman. So the energy and sightings and weirdness and paranormal activity and poltergeist activity probably only occurs with some people that have high energy levels. So some people have been going there, saw nothing, and some people went there and saw everything. So it depends on the person. Why am I seeing UFOs over my house and having little fires starting in my house, little sparks and things moving, which is absolutely ridiculous. It makes the Poltergeist movie look like it was lame, okay? Because a lot of stuff is happening here. No, I didn't do like the little girl, sit down and touch the television. I think it's a lot worse than that. But I think there's a message even in the movies that we see. Energy. It's always the frequency. Well, on this farm, it's definitely all about frequencies. So what's happening? Why is there something happening on that ranch? So obviously the digging and everything that's going on there is probably going to remain hidden if the government has its hands on it. Let's look a little deeper. So the ownerships, real quickly for those that are curious, between 1934 and 1994, we have a Kenneth and Edith Myers that owned the ranch. 94 to 96, Terry and Gwen Sherman. 96 to 216, still, right now, Robert Bigelow. Oh, no. Now it's over to 216 and present Brandon Fugel via Adamantium Real Estate. So in 216, Bigelow sold Skinwalker Ranch to Adamantium Real Estate. After this purchase of the ranch, all the roads leading to the ranch were blocked off. The perimeter was guarded by cameras and barbed wire, and signs were posted that aimed to prevent people from approaching the ranch. Now imagine they could be doing a whole bunch of dangerous testing and frequency and x-raying and stuff, and maybe, just maybe, they wanted to prevent people from going there because of the dangers of the testing that they were going to do, the elements, the chemicals, whatnot, or quite simply, what's buried under that ranch on the side of that mountain in that mesa could be a UFO or a base. What is it? I have no idea, but it remains a very interesting story. So the energy coming from this Skinwalker Ranch, guys, is serious stuff. Frequencies can make us sick, right? Different frequencies. As a matter of fact, science is still doing a lot of studying and all of this. And, it's just theory. Everyone's theorizing about dangers and this and that, and they're giving their qualified professional opinions, but still, it's not certain. Nothing's certain. In November 2022, an ancient rock art was discovered at Skinwalker Ranch by Brandon Fugel and his team utilizing Phoenix, LiDAR, and Faro terrestrial scanning. People have been exposed to technology from black programs, advanced state-of-the-art high-energy technologies developed in special access programs, non-lethal weapons programs, holograms, cloaking devices, drones. Skinwalker Ranch owner Brandon Fugel, when asked if the military is still actively involved at the ranch. I'm not at liberty to discuss details regarding various investigations, briefings that are going on presently relative to the ranch. But I can tell you that when certain phenomena are being recorded and are being observed and are being monitored, how do I say this? He says, what is being witnessed at the ranch has significant national security implications. So, as you will have listened to this podcast, I'm gathering information that's both recent. We just heard November 2022. This is very recent. And at the same time, looking in the past at what they said. But guys, here are some recent quotes from some important people of interest. Whatever this is, it's far more complex than we ever anticipated, said Colonel John Alexander. End of quote. People have been killed. People have been hurt. It's more than just observational kinds of data. Bob Bigelow, following shortly after physicist Stephen Hawking's warning them to avoid the alien extraterrestrials at all cost. End of quote. Persons wanting to report UFO unexplained phenomena activity should contact a UFO unexplained phenomena reporting data collection center such as Bigelow Aerospace Advanced Space Studies. FAA advises air traffic controllers. Mr. Bigelow did not fund Mufon's work for BAASS. Instead, sponsors that Bigelow revealed to John Schuster, but not to the other Mufon board members, put up the money. James Carrion, former director of Mufon. I've been in contact with a great number of investigators from the Mufon board, I guess we could say, if you want, because I was in contact with some directors also at the same time as I was doing my research about the moon and about the UFOs here with my infrared cameras, both lifting off of the surface and now some even arriving and descending down to the surface. Mr. Bigelow hired Mufon to try and capture a UFO on the ground so he can back engineer it to transport people in space. This is the truth and not exaggerated. Denise M. Stoner, Chief Investigator in Florida, Mufon State Section Director. So without a doubt, Mufon is definitely an association that I'm going to mention about. When I was first invited to a massive forum of ufologists last year in August 2021, presented by the United States government, the Pentagon, the Carter administration that has started all of this. I had, UAP task force. I mean, it's an incredible chance just to have my name presented, and even better, my video lasted over 6 minutes, and that I was able to show them exactly what was occurring around my house. I had this overwhelming feeling and change of the way I feel about Mufon and the way I feel about the governments. And, we're always labeling them as bad. In reality, there's lots of different branches and lots of different projects that are being done, both black projects, secret projects, whatnot. And this information that's being gathered by the governments are being gathered through these associations like Mufon. Mufon was here in 2009, right beside Ormstown, Quebec, in a town, very, very dead town where there's no electricity, aside for a few street lamps and one gas station, no restaurants or stores and everything. And these crop circles had landed there. 12 large crop circles landed there. Well, then you start to think that, wow, who are they going to send for these incredible findings? I'd love to know which secret agents and stuff. No, it's Mufon investigators. They go and pick up the sightings, civilian sightings, so that they have eyes on everyone and everywhere around the world. Instead of them having to gather UFO sightings and data and information, Mufon is doing so and then shipping that off to the government, and anything credible or important to know about or any dangers of national security. Well, obviously, like in my case, they don't have to talk about me, but at least they can see what I was filming. It's inevitable, guys. It could actually be that the Pentagon and the governments do not know what is going on. And like we heard a colonel say a bit further in this, and as we heard Colonel John Alexander say, it's far more complex than people think. And for there be an implication or a danger to national security, they're going to keep this even more secretive. That is why I believe the way me and every other researcher, professional or not, is going to be dealt with in a very, very secretive way, right? We had some regular Mufon people that tried to attract me there, and then I spoke to a few directors and even former directors now, a handful of them, and I'm honored to have had the chance to be able to talk to them about certain things. But again, everything is really hush-hush. My work was presented without a term given to it, and I think that is okay. Like Skinwalker Ranch, people are going to develop a folklore, a story around it, going to add a few shaman stories in that to make things really weirded out. So it's hard to find out exactly what truth are we getting from all the information on any given subject, especially when it comes to ufology and UFOs and anti-gravity technology and stuff. We're going to hear nothing more than, some articles maybe posted online. So that's why I'm always continually studying and researching and trying to stay updated with all these stories. But these stories always are changing, like the Skinwalker Ranch story is also changing. I wanted to keep this limited to a 20-minute stream to keep it interesting and not just to blah, 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 go on and go on. I have given my opinion. I do believe that Mufon is looking at me and looking over me because they're watching for any sightings that I could have. And I think that's a good thing. That's, in a way, bringing my research out in a very secretive way. Thanks for watching, everyone.